What is information exchange? Information exchange, also known as information gap, is a type of communicative activity where two or more learners have different bits of information, and they need to speak to each other to exchange information to collate knowledge. Teachers can use, adapt, or create different types of information exchange activities. In barrier games, a barrier is placed between two learners so that they cannot see each other's information. In a classroom, a tall book could be placed between them, or alternatively, they could be sitting with their backs to each other. They look at different texts, images, or objects, and exchange information about them by speaking to each other. Please watch the Barrier Games video in this series for more information about this particular activity. In jigsaw activities, different group members are given different information and familiarize themselves with it through reading it, listening to it, or viewing it. Then, the group comes together to collate their knowledge into a coherent whole, for instance by designing or completing a diagram together using the information. If you want to learn more about this type of information activity, please watch the Jigsaw Activities video in this series. In split text activities, a text on a topic is split into a number of parts, and learners need to reconstruct that text and do something with it, for instance sequence or rank information based on it. How can teachers use information exchange in their classroom? First of all, it is a good idea to pair learners with EAL, particularly those at lower levels of English language acquisition, with other learners who can provide good English language models. Secondly, in order for these activities to work well, teachers will need to ensure that the instructions are clear to all the learners before the activity starts, so everyone knows what they are expected to do. So it might be helpful to check that all the students understand the instructions as well. Thirdly, you might want to differentiate the activity by providing learners with EAL who are new to English or at the early acquisition stages with additional scaffolding to help them to ask appropriate questions. Such scaffolding could be substitution tables or sentence starters. Why use information exchange activities? They encourage learners to listen to their partners or other group members attentively. In addition, information exchange activities develop learners' ability to listen for specific information and detail. As learners need to both ask and answer questions, questioning and answering skills necessarily and naturally develop in the course of these activities. They also help with developing paraphrasing skills. Learners will find they need their own words to convey their meaning to their partners, where they might have forgotten a word or they do not know a word. When listening, it will often be important for learners to write down what their partner or group member says to them. This develops note-taking skills. What are our top tips for using information exchange? Information exchange activities work well with activities where learners exchange biographical information about historical figures. For example, Martin Luther King, historical groups such as peasants in the Middle Ages, and fictional characters from literature, for instance, Oliver Twist. Teachers are also encouraged to use images, not only text, for these activities. Exchanging information does not necessarily imply the use of textual information. Spot the difference activities can be used, for instance, where learners have to orally describe to each other what is on their images without being able to look at the image of their partner. How can information exchange be used for independent learning? When a learner is at home, it is still possible to communicate using software such as Skype or Zoom. In fact, activities such as barrier games might be easier to set up, as learners genuinely will not be able to see the information the other learners have, not being in the same classroom. A physical barrier is not required. It is also possible to set up an activity where the teacher reads some instructions to the learners. If the audio of such instructions is recorded, the learner could play and rewind them, so to speak, which could help. Using these instructions, the learner could complete a diagram, position different elements on a blank map, or draw a picture based on a description of an image.